Hi, um, welcome back to my channel. Before we do anything, let me give you the spiel that every other person on this platform likes to give. Please subscribe, like the video, all that good jazz. If you want to though, nothing's forced here on this channel. We do things as we please. This is going to be a short and sweet little video just detailing a certain situation that's been happening. I'm not gonna be giving tea or anything. I just wanted to speak my opinion on the situation because I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings surrounding it, but we will get into that right after this newfangled intro I created. Mr. Simon, bring me. Okay. So for those of you who have perhaps been living under a rock or in a cave by wolves, a place I would love to be right now, Shane Dawson just released a new video, a docuseries detailing Eugenia Cooney's return. Now, if you haven't been following the internet, Eugenia Cooney has been a creator on YouTube that people always worried about her and her health because of how detrimentally thin she kept getting throughout her years on the platform. And early on this year, I believe, she said that she had gone in to seek help. Now, in the video, Eugenia discusses sort of her foray into an inpatient program for an eating disorder and sort of what she learned and what her story is from her perspective. And I need you to keep this in mind. This is her story. It is detailed from her perspective and the way she wants it to be told. And Shane merely served as a vessel for that story to be given across a larger platform than her own. And yeah, that's that. This is going to be a little off because I have a really bad pounding migraine, but I really did want to put this out because I've been percolating over these thoughts in my head for a bit, and I feel like I have a good grip on what's happening. Well, not a good grip on what's happening, but I have a good grip on my own opinions about it. So this entire video is subjective. It's an important word to learn. It means that all of this is all based on my personal feelings and opinion. So almost the same week, like I think I want to say it's a day after Shane Dawson released his docuseries with Eugenia Cooney, Jaclyn Glenn and two of her friends, I don't know their names, I'm sorry, released a video detailing the truth behind it. Now, disclaimer before we even begin, I've never watched Jaclyn Glenn's content. I don't really know anything about her, so I have no bias in that particular area. She seems like she's coming at it from the right place. I just have an issue with the execution itself. So she released a video saying how disappointed she was that Shane's docuseries was all like puppies and rainbows about a topic so serious. And I have the actual tweet she tweeted out, so wait, okay. So Shane missed the chance to cover the story in a real way. A lighthearted house tour and makeup video is not the proper way to cover something this scary. Jake Paul gets sociopath music, but a video on a serious eating disorder is sunshine and rainbows. I'm so disappointed. Now, I'm going to say something before we even begin. Oftentimes, talking about a subject matter as heavy as an eating disorder or mental illness, it does the human mind wonders to paint it in a way that is a little less depressing, especially because the video involves someone who was being treated and who had just come out of an inpatient program. And so I think the reason it is so light is, and Shane said it himself in the video, he didn't want to trigger her. And we all need to keep this in mind. Her state of mind is very fragile at this moment. I'm not a professional, but I do suffer from mental illness myself. And so I understand that when you come straight out of treatment, your state of mind is very fragile. And it is very easy to trigger your behaviors and regress them back into the way they used to be. And so he said it himself, he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to hurt her. He didn't want to trigger her. He didn't want to be detrimental to her improvement and to her pursuit of getting better mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it is that she wishes to not fix, but better in her life. Okay, so I'm gonna give like a very general statement of what some of the things that I feel were wrong in the video. Mainly that, in my personal opinion, I feel like it was an invasion of privacy. Some of the things they alleged, because we all need to remember that this is, at this point, all of this is he said, she said. Nothing is proven. And yes, although it might have been coming from a good place and a deep love and care for Eugenia Cooney, I do believe that they divulged information that was far too private that she may not have wished publicized, and yet they still publicized it. And that is wrong. And I don't care how you paint it, that is dead wrong. So here's what happened. In Jaclyn Glenn's video, she sat down with two friends who were also apparently friends with Eugenia, and they stated that the real story of her comeback was far darker than what she said in the video and what Shane portrayed. And they detailed how they'd seen her lose health and become more and more entangled in her own mind and her eating disorder, and that they staged an intervention, and they basically 5150'd her. And a 5150 is when the law enforcement is called along with medical professionals to put a person on psychiatric hold. After the hold had lifted, she chose to remain in the eating disorder facility. The way Eugenia detailed it is that she chose to voluntarily go seek help. We don't know which version is the truth. However, I do feel that she's just come out of an inpatient program, and news like that, if she wanted this to come out, she would have said it, because she did speak about everything. And that's something that I also did want to hit on, is that no matter what people are saying, there is progress there. There's progress that we can see physically, but that we can also notice by listening to her speak. If you watched any of her previous content, she always dodged questions about her health and her weight. She never really admitted that she had a problem, but yet she sat with Shane and Andrew, who she didn't know, talking about her having an eating disorder and going to a facility and seeking help and what was happening inside the inpatient facility, and admitted that this is an ongoing problem that she is working on, that she's getting therapy, that she is getting help, and that she had a problem. And I think that in and of itself is huge improvement, because it is very hard to admit that to yourself. Now, and I think we should hold her to a standard of pride for that. That she managed to objectively realize that something is wrong, and that yes, I did need help, and yes, something was wrong with me, because oftentimes that's the first step towards getting better. A lot of the times, those of us who suffer from mental illness don't realize anything's wrong until something goes very wrong. And even still, we live in denial. I don't see her as living in denial. I see her as slowly coming out of it. And yes, it is a day-by-day process, and it is a life's journey. But she's taking the steps and making the effort to get out of the rut, and I think we need to be very proud of her for that. Another thing they touched on was Eugenia Cooney's relationship with her mother, and they stated that her mother was actually the enabler of her eating disorder and was very controlling over her daughter's life. Now, I'm not going to sit here and accuse her mother of anything. As far as I'm concerned, these allegations mean nothing to me until I get some form of concrete proof.
And before everyone starts railing me for saying that, what I mean is abuse allegations need more proof than suspicious behavior on video or so on and so forth.
And Jaclyn Glenn's word to me is not concrete proof. And I'm not going to sit there and state that this woman suffers from Munchausen by proxy, which is a mental illness, whereas a caretaker creates a disease in their child or the person that they are caring for in order to reap the attention and the benefits coming from said disease. We're not, if you want to know more about that, I highly recommend you read about Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Dee Blanchard. I believe there was a show that just came out on Hulu about it. I live in Egypt. I don't have Hulu. It's not accessible here, but highly recommend you watch it. It's great, and highly recommend you read about the story. It's a great case study of what Munchausen by proxy is or could be. So we're not going to sit there and accuse this woman of anything. Another thing I wanted to also mention is this video came out, I want to say maybe a day, at most two, after Shane's documentary came out. And, you know, as much as I, yes, from the bottom of my heart, do believe that it was filmed with the best of intentions, but a part of me, the part of me that lives on the internet, the part of me that creates content for you guys, and the part of me that puts myself out there in front of a camera and posts videos online knows that they are as well riding the wave of the popularity. This was the best time to post a video like that to reap the most views out of Shane's video. And you would be very naive to believe otherwise, I think. So as good as their intentions were, there was a business and capitalist perspective coming into it as well. And that's fine, that's their job. I can't blame them for that. But what I can blame them for is potentially triggering Eugenia by their words back into and where she used to be, causing her to regress in her behavior, in her thought process, in her feelings. I think the internet is not a place to diagnose. It is not a place where you will talk about what did or didn't happen relating to someone's stay in rehab and coming out and how they're feeling, whether you agree with their story or not. The internet is not the place for that. This should be done in private between people. It was not within your right to come out with this story and tell it the way you saw fit for it to be told when it is not your story. It is Eugenia Cooney's story. And if the story is a fabrication of her own, then so be it. She holds her right to do that. I'm sorry if this upsets anyone. Like, I'm sorry if people don't agree with what I'm saying, but it is what it is. This is her story. And if she wants to paint her recovery in a positive light in order to inspire others, or even if she just doesn't want to talk about the harder things, she doesn't want to let people know that she was 5150'd into rehab, then that's her right. She's a 24-year-old woman. She reserves the right to hold her dignity in that way. Because the internet, and I don't know if you guys know this, but the internet isn't the most dignified place in the world. People get hit on, we get shit on. If she wants to hold that nugget of information to herself, then she should have been able to. Because what I don't think they thought of was how detrimental such a video could be when she'd just been coming out into the internet, when people were welcoming her, and now you have, because of your video, people doubting her once more. And that can't be healthy, because whether you want to admit it or not, she's in a very fragile mental place right now. She's in a transitionary phase between an environment that was so sterile and controlled from all angles to an ounce of freedom once more. And yes, she probably won't be allowed full freedom for a little bit, because eating disorders, once they come out of rehab, people need to be monitored to ensure that the behaviors don't regress. And that's okay. In a case as severe as hers, where we all saw what she looked like towards the end, right before she sought treatment, I think it's acceptable at this point to realize maybe she just needs someone around to make sure she, feels okay on the inside, that she can talk, that she doesn't forget to eat. And I think there's been a lot of I think in this video, but like I said, I'm not here to spill tea. I just wanted to give my opinion. I think people saying that Shane took a wrong turn in making it like fluffy content, I think sometimes people don't understand how hard it is for the person he's working with, right? Her state of mind is fragile, and he said it himself. I've said this 100 times, but he said himself that he didn't want to trigger her. And that's a good way for him not to let her tell her own tale the way she wants it to be told. And I think that's a really important thing that he did. And I think that he gave her the freedom of controlling her own narrative. And on the internet, and her being a creator on the internet, someone with notoriety and someone who's recognized on this platform and others, it's very important for her to regain a sense of freedom in that and a sense of control. He gave her control over her own narrative. And yeah, I don't think it was right for them to divulge so many pieces of information that perhaps she didn't want to be divulged. I don't think it was fair for them to make such claims very soon after Shane's video had come out. I do not think it was right for them to, I don't know, make claims of abuse and not support them with anything. Claims like that have the power to ruin people's lives, and if there's nothing to support it, then just don't take the risk, you know? Another thing I wanted to talk about is a few of the comments I saw floating around, like Twitter and YouTube and stuff. So something people really commented on was the fact that they believed in the control because the lawyer was present. I see your point. I, however, have a different view of that. I think the lawyer, and this is just speculation and very subjective, but I do believe that the lawyer may have been present in order to ensure that what Eugenia wanted her narrative to be and the pieces of her story that she wanted to put out remained out. And if anything she didn't agree with that was discussed prior was brought up and put up in the finalized cut of the document that was put online, she reserved the right to demand for it to be taken down. That's just my piece on it. I could be talking straight out of my ass. Another thing was people were claiming that her saying that she just forgot to eat and it kept going and going and going was a bad excuse. Maybe, but I also do know for, a fact from experience that certain low-level behaviors can escalate into other mental illnesses and become an obsessive behavior. And we also need to keep in mind that Eugenia never specified what form of eating disorder she was diagnosed with, and there are plenty of options out there, and not one set of symptoms will work with everyone, and everyone displays symptoms differently. So we don't know, we're not professionals, we can't be the judge of that. Please, internet, just let the girl breathe, let her get back into her comfort zone and find her footing in the sand of YouTube and the internet again before we jump down her throat, okay? And the final thing I wanted to hit on too was, I believe Jaclyn Glenn mentioned Katie Morton was complicit in a lot of the machinations, if you will, that were going on behind the scenes to get Eugenia the help she needed. And Jaclyn Glenn was upset that during Katie's segment, none of this was being broadcasted or told to the public. And to that, I only have to say one thing. Katie Morton is a licensed therapist. She abides by the Hippocratic Oath, which means that there is privilege between her and her patients. That means that she legally is not allowed to divulge any information. That being put aside, she also was not Eugenia Cooney's personal therapist, so she knows nothing about her background, her medical background, her history with mental illness, anything of the sort. So it is not her place to speak. I think she did the right thing by not speaking of any of this. I think she provided a great insight from a professional in this field, because we need to remember that Katie Morton specializes in eating disorders. As a professional in this field, she gave a really great insight into the medical side and the scientific side of it. She helped Shane understand what could and couldn't trigger her. And I think that's really important. And I commend all of them for coming together and putting this out, because as bad as, some people might say it is, I think it truly may have really helped Eugenia in the long run. And finally, Jaclyn Glenn, please just continue supporting her, continue being her friend off screen too. Eugenia, I don't think you'll ever stumble on this, but if you do, just know that I'm very proud of your progress. I can see it even if others doubt it. It is there, and the most important thing is, even if no one sees it, if you're the only person in the room who's seeing your progress, then that's all that matters. And please don't let anything bring you back into those unhealthy, toxic thought processes that you had. And Shane, thank you for bringing her story out the way she wanted it brought out. Thank you for not imposing your own ideas on how your documentary should have gone, but rather sticking to what she felt comfortable saying. I know you probably wanted to dig a little deeper, but thank you for respecting her boundaries and trying so hard to not trigger her back into unhealthy thought processes or memories. I think it takes a very kind heart to do that, because it could have meant that the series wouldn't have done as well as you wanted to, and yet you still did that because you just wanted to abide by what she wanted to and bring her story to light in the hopes of maybe inspiring and helping others. And I think maybe that makes you one of the most noble people on this cursed platform, sometimes it feels like. Jaclyn Glenn and friends, I do believe you came from a place of love. I can tell that you love her so much and you care about her so much, and I appreciate that, and I think a lot of people understand it as well. I just hope that you talk to her face to face as opposed to through a screen, and as your audiences as mediators. I hope this love will continue to be there for her, and I hope you'll still support her through everything, even if she's not willing to accept it. And yeah, that's all I have to say. With that being said,
we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
please subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave me a comment if you wanna. I post new videos. I want to give you specific dates, but I don't have them, so we'll just say weekly. And with that, I'm out.